Crossbows have been around for hundreds and thousands of years, so we don't always think of them as high tech. But check out this new innovation from Raven Crossbows.
Experience rifle-like 3-inch groups at 100 yards with the new Raven Crossbow. Raven's patented Helicoil technology provides balanced cams, zero rail friction, and dead straight knot travel for amazing speed and devastating downrange accuracy with every shot. Raven Crossbows. Learn more at ravencrossbows.com.
So joining us is Ryan Chuckle from Raven Crossbows. How's it going?
You're right. How are you doing?
Doing pretty good. So, let's talk about these crossbows. So, in the video, it sounded like a gunshot was going off. Did I hear that correctly, or?
Yeah, you did. You know, it's I mean, it was very purposeful, and it's been an interesting to see the archery world react to that commercial because it's definitely a loaded platform when you talk. No pun intended. When you talk about a crossbow and compare it to a rifle.
Yeah.
For obvious reasons, but you know, at the end of the day, when we launched this thing, we felt like there was the archery guys might embrace it, but we felt like based on the technology and what we're trying to do, that people that own guns and that hunt with them might find more interest in it.
Gotcha. So now, what type of person do you typically see leaning towards a crossbow of this nature? Like, for instance, like what would be their mindset? So, like, for instance, I'm a gun owner.
Yeah.
But besides the very, very, very cool component, which is in abundance in that regard, why would somebody like me decide to kind of float into this world of launching projectiles?
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, at the crossbow market has grown a lot, if you're not familiar with it, in the last few years because a lot of states where crossbows were not legal to use during archery season there's been legislation passed that allow people to hunt no matter. It used to be a lot of states allowed it if you were either handicapped or if you were a senior citizen, because the ability to draw back a bow could be hampered in either of those situations. But now more and more states have made it legal for people to use crossbows during the archery season, and so we've seen a huge influx of crossbows in the market, and we've seen more and more people using them and choosing to use them. So a lot of the crossbow manufacturers have really targeted their products towards archery hunters that said, hey, I don't want to learn how to shoot a compound bow. I don't want to set it up. I don't want to practice. This makes it easier for me. We're taking a different route. What we really see is a crossbow as a tool to introduce archery hunting to more people like yourself that may be gun owners and actually just recreational shooting.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fun with things that go bang, and we all shoot guns, and we love that too. But at the end of the day, something that is highly accurate, that is really a technological kind of feat, we think is really appealing to gun hunters and shooters, and bringing them into archery in an interesting way. And so, yeah, I mean, a lot of people are really appealing to those archery hunters, and we're saying, hey, if you like to challenge yourself with firearms, if you like to shoot long range with a crossbow is 100 yards or 150 yards. That's a really long shot with a crossbow. It would be akin to like really getting yourself in tune with a 1,000-yard shot with a long distance rifle.
Gotcha. So basically what you're telling me is it's not because of Daryl from The Walking Dead that there's been an uptick in interest in a crossbow. That's basically what you're telling me.
Our dream is to get this crossbow on The Walking Dead.
Okay.
But, all kinds of things. That kind of stuff, actually, I mean, it's crazy. It's just like the Hunger Games in the archery world really led to a lot of people just a general interest. And so, if it's zombies that people are after, I think this could do the trick. But, we didn't really build it for that.
Hey, I'm not mad at it at all. So let's actually talk about the actual crossbows that you guys make. Let's talk about the Helicoil, right? So let's talk about the distinctions and the differences between the product that you guys make and other products out there, and then some of the technology involved in actually creating this particular thing, crossbow.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got one here with me. This is the R9. We've got two models, and basically the only difference between them is speed. Some people are really obsessed with speed, and so we have one that shoots 390 feet per second, which is really fast, especially with as accurate as in one that shoots 425. But they both look basically the same, and they both are powered by the helicoil technology is really what drives all the innovation in these. And so if you look at a traditional crossbow, they're really actually a fairly inefficient weapon. What happens is you've got strings and cables that dive under the rail. And if you watch a lot of traditional crossbows in really super slow-mo, it's actually a rather violent reaction because a lot of the energy is not going downrange. A lot of the energy, because of the cables and strings that have to dive under the rail, and because the cams, which is the part that rotates that brings in the strings and cables, are canted in a traditional crossbow, you get a lot of inefficiencies. And so what the designers of this crossbow were really out to do is take all those inefficiencies out, put 100% of the energy in going downrange, which leads to just tremendous downrange accuracy. And so the helicoil design basically allows these cams, as you can see, one of the big benefits of the design is a really compact bow.
Yeah.
Traditional crossbows tend to be really hard to carry in the field. They're hard to use in blinds, things like that. This really takes a lot of that out of the equation. I mean, it's 6 inches axle to axle, and the full, when it from the outside of the limbs, it's 10 inches. So, it really carries a lot more like a gun than it does a traditional crossbow. And so that's a big benefit of the design as well. But really, the helicoil design allows these cams to over-rotate. A traditional cam might rotate 270 degrees. These rotate a full 340 degrees, which means we can get away with a lot more of the benefits of taking up the strings and cables without diving under the rail and some of those inefficiencies I mentioned earlier.
Gotcha. So now let's talk about this track trigger. How does the trigger work on a system like this, and how is it different and the same in terms of comparing it to a rifle? Wait, were those bipods?
Yeah, no. I mean, one of the things so this is fully cocked, and you can see the string is back, and for safety purposes, since I'm inside, I won't blow it and fire a barrel through a window over here. But at the end of the day, what we're really trying to do with the track trigger system is two things. One, if you look at the way that a lot of crossbows are cocked, they have a mechanism where you might put a hook on two sides of the string and pull it back, and it's really dependent upon the weight that you use with both of your hands being equal to make sure that this is always that you're always grabbing the string in the same spot. This system basically has a trigger sled. This whole piece moves forward and clasps the string in the same spot every single time.
Gotcha. Which
means that we're always firing from the exact same spot on the string, which leads to efficiency and accuracy. So that's the track trigger system. We've got the cocking system is also also works with this sled. So we've got this little cocking handle that mounts up on the front of the bow. You take it off, and it's an ambidextrous system. So you just simply clasp it on here, and you crank it back, and it allows this trigger sled to slide backwards. You can also uncock it using this as well, which means that a lot of crossbows, you actually have to fire an arrow out of it to uncock it. This doesn't require you to do that.
So definitely should not fire it when there isn't an arrow.
Actually, that's a good point, but this actually has an anti-dry fire system. So the only way, I'm not going to do it, but the only way that you can truly get this trigger to go off is to load one of our arrows in it, which has a proprietary knock for safety's sake, because this is a very heavy arrow. If you put a lighter arrow that you might put in a compound bow in here, you risk that arrow being damaged and potentially injuring the user. Gotcha. So the great thing is the anti-dry fire device means that you cannot fire this bow without one of our arrows in it. So it's a safety mechanism, and it also,
like a magazine disconnect in a gun.
Yeah, exactly. And then the trigger itself, we really worked hard to put a trigger in this thing that felt like you were shooting a gun. So a lot of crossbows have what we would consider fairly sloppy triggers. This is really meant to mimic what it feels like to shoot a gun, because we believe that gun hunters, when they transition over to a crossbow, we want to make that transition feel as comfortable for them as possible.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to getting my hands on one of these things so I can shoot them. I promise you.
Yeah, we'll send you one, man. I'm telling you, as a gun guy, if there's a crossbow you'd ever enjoy shooting, this is it.
That's the one.
Yeah, I'd love to put one in your hands. I think you'd enjoy it.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to it, and I look forward to having you back on the show and keeping us updated with a lot of the other products that you guys have. And I want to thank you very much, Ryan, for joining us today.
You bet. Thanks. And I want to mention we're going to be at the NRA annual meeting in Atlanta.
Okay.
And we're excited to be a part of that. That's going to be a great event. And
I'll have to swing by the booth.
Yeah, do that. We'll see you there. Look forward to it.
Will do. Thanks a lot, man.
Okay, thank you.
All right. When we come back, we'll be talking guns, politics, and news coverage with Stacy on the right.